Next speaker is Mark, redefining what matters most in life.
Just something easy. Hey, Bansko Fringe, how are you guys doing? Thank you very much for having me on stage. I've been wanting to speak at events for years, and so I kind of wrote an application, and then I completely forgot what I wrote. And then so 2 weeks ago, this topic was announced, and I thought, that's my topic. Oh, okay, all right, let's figure it out then. So a little bit about me. My dad's Egyptian, my mom's Greek, half Jewish. I'm born in Canada in 1980. I'm been a digital nomad, freelance translator since 2010. I'm a skipper of sailboats, like that. I've also, like Yoav, really I don't know where he is, really interested in this concept of eco-villages and global networks of intentional community. I actually bought a farm in Austria 5 years ago, and then I sold it. Anyway, and I'm now living in a van. So home is mobile. What do these credentials give me in terms of authority to speak about what matters most in life? I really don't know. I guess in a way it's kind of trying to break out of the mold or trying to challenge these classic stories that we're told. And I think in a way also as nomads, we're part of the way there. We're trying to go beyond what society expects.
Wow.
This was me when I graduated university. I was a very good student. I did all the right things. I got an engineering degree, but this is how I looked. So I had a lot to learn, and then I stopped doing engineering and worked more on myself. So, out to you. I'll just get a few samples. What do you think matters most in life?
Happiness.
Happiness. Relationships. Love. Dancing. Laughing.
Life.
Life. I don't know, does that work? Life matters most in life.
It does. It does work.
Experience everything.
Dogs.
The bad and the good. Yeah. So not only the happiness.
Fulfillment.
Presence, fulfillment. You guys are good. I mean, I knew this was an advanced class, so you're close. But I don't know that we get all of that from the Bansko Nomad Fest. And I love the Bansko. No, I mean that's maybe an exaggeration. I've had a very good time at the Bansko Nomad Fest for the last 3 years, and I've met amazing people. One of the most profound talks were from Yuta and Adam 3 years ago. They had backpacks, and they were, with the baggage of the relationships. And so, yeah, I've made a lot of good friends here. But there does seem to be a kind of a recurring emphasis on, saving taxes and making money and getting a lot of likes, and so this financial freedom, or even freedom as a higher concept. And these are great, but I kind of wanted to, something made me uncomfortable about it, and I have a mnemonic for me to tell you the story. We were having a manifestation, and someone was talking about manifestation. It reminded me of this. And then, how do you see yourself in 3 months, in a year? What do you want in your life? And this guy was like, I want to make 10,000 euros a month. This is what he visualized. This was his end goal mission. This is what was the most important. And something just sat wrong with me. That was really what mattered to him. I mean, okay, so there's also really good talks this year. One of them is about turning your inner struggles into strengths. Like, there's talks I'd go see, but I've had enough Nomad Fests for the last few years. And this is like the message that I feel is kind of, not everyone, but is given to us. I have to make more money, I have to get more likes, I have to get more followers, I have to not waste time, I have to be successful, I have to build more companies. I don't know, I just feels like a lot of pressure. And so this is more my style. Anybody knows who this is? Yes, Socrates. You're Greek, yeah, you know. So, I always felt like there was two roads to happiness. you can get more stuff or you can need less stuff. So I was more on the minimalist. And a lot of nomads are on that path too. But then there's also the point that maybe happiness in itself isn't necessarily the end goal. By the way, I don't have the answer. I'm just going through a process here. So I want to introduce you to Vivienne Dittmar. She's a German author and speaker. Just a show of hands, have anyone heard of her? Yeah, Jutta. And she wrote a book a few years ago called Echte Wohlstand, which translates to true prosperity. But Wohlstand basically means, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the state of wholeness or of feeling good. It's something a bit more profound than just prosperity. Why investing in inner wealth is worth it, and it's a plea for new values. She tries to redefine the values both on individual and on a societal scale that we shift focus from. So that's the rest of the talk what I want to introduce you to. And it's also 5 dimensions, so again, just like Yov, not the same ones, but similar framework. This is thanks to Jaap yesterday, a fantastic talk on being rich. And so I raised my hand that I was rich, but I wasn't necessarily thinking in these terms. But in these classical capitalist wealth-oriented terms, yeah, these are the values, the income, the assets, how much stuff can you buy, and then he didn't talk that much about the power and the influence side, but these are this conventional idea, like, I've made it, this is success, this is what we're all aiming for. And I look at this guy and I want to dig deeper, like, is he really have it all, or does he feel like there's maybe something missing? What is his inner wealth? What is his inner state of prosperity? And so, there's a lot of, this is not new stuff, I'm sure you've all heard this before, but, loneliness is such a cliche in nomads, and this something missing, this something, a little bit more profound that some of us, maybe not all of us, feel a little bit lacking. And that applies also to this societal scale, like I said before, the market economy, the economy is what's most important, it's what's most talked about. The idea that now a success of a country is still measured in GDP or in economic output, like there are other values at play that don't get as much airtime. And so this is where Vivienne really goes deep into her book and kind of calls out what is lacking here. I mean, again, this is nothing new, but we know that our linear economy is getting more and more consumption-oriented, and of course there are really valid efforts to be aware of this and to change it and make it more of a circular economy, how she was dressing. I don't see her now, but to be aware about not wasting as much. But by and large, the smartphones we have, they're designed to be replaced a year later, and I feel like this is also something that is evolving, hopefully not too disastrously. So this is the slide. This is the Vivienne Dittmar's new definition of prosperity. How do we shift those values from consumption and making stuff and then just being kind of this frenetic pace, right? 5 dimensions. The first one is the prosperity of time. It's a bit ironic that, we've, at this stage in the game in our technology, we've designed all these machines and all these technologies to save time and to not have to work as hard, but we're working just as much hours as we were 200 years ago. So where's all the time savings gone? There's a tremendous pressure to not waste time. Jillian took a few seconds in the presentation for us all to close our eyes and just take a deep breath. And there's a resistance in the societal movement. That's a waste of time. We want to know more information. But actually, Vivienne describes this as an act of rebellion, as an act of revolution, to take back your time and to just take a moment and slow things down. The second dimension is the prosperity of relationships. Again, something that is very talked about and probably my favorite dimension to go and dig into. And something that I feel, again, the quality has kind of degraded. There are beautiful relationships, obviously, as role models, but generally speaking, we've developed a culture now where they feel more commodified. They feel like you can swipe them, or it's just about the likes, or there's the loneliness epidemic that's connected to this social media, the not so good use of it. One speaker about the anxiety yesterday said she sometimes uses social media to shift away from anxiety and focus on the color and the lighting. Like for me, social media just creates anxiety. I have to be very aware of whether it does more good than bad. The question she asks is, how many people are there for you in the good times and the bad that you can really rely on at any time? And interestingly, for how many people are you that person? For how many people can you be there, present, always in the bad times? And these are maybe more a function of the quality of the relationship rather than the quantity. It's not just about being popular, right? Each of these dimensions we could talk about all day. The third one, prosperity of creativity, just works really well with the last talk. How do we find what we innately love to do, not as a purpose to make money, but just to be in the flow, to be enjoying ourselves and our lives connected to our own purpose. Cohen yesterday was talking about diving. That's what makes him feel alive. Whether it's shopping for clothes or reorganizing your wardrobe, whatever it is, everyone's unique. But this creativity is also lost fairly early when we're pressured to find something that's going to get us a good job. So even if we're really wanting to be an artist or a musician, again, Yov in his talk, I feel like we should talk after, he's decided to become an artist, which his mom's not happy about. This is him tapping into the creativity. And it's something that we have to consciously take back and cultivate consciously, because it's not so much supported in the pressures of being successful and, not wasting time. For some people, the pandemic was great. They were finally locked down. They didn't have to go and do work, so it allowed their creativity to flourish. And these three dimensions actually cause a little triangle between them. They're interdependent, right? They're like a little magic triangle. You need time in order to enjoy your relationships and in order to be creative. And you also need relationships and creativity to enjoy your free time. Because if you don't have those, then an abundance of time can be really not a good thing. And so how do those interplay? You can go without one for a little while, In the pandemic, you can go focus really much on the creativity at some point. And maybe the pandemic even helped us realize to what an extent relationships were important and how it was important to just go hang out with people, or to cultivate those relationships. So then there's two dimensions left. One is inside the triangle, one is out. The one that's inside is the prosperity of spirituality. And I love that we've had talks about the dark side of spirituality and about Tantra. It means different things to different people. And so I'm not prescribing a particular path, but what Vivian noticed in all of the research that she did in all of the traditional communities and all of the ancient tribes, this spirituality was always at the center of their community. It always had a main role. And again, this is something that we've kind of lost touch with. It's so important to be connected to ritual or to a celebration of something that's beyond our understanding. It's basically just a connection to the mystery and the magic and the parts of life that we don't fully cognitively get. And it's important for us to, it's important. And the final dimension, which ties it all together, is the prosperity of ecology. And she uses this as a kind of counterpoint to economy. I already spoke a bit about this earlier, but we feel that we can sustain our material things with our finances and with our economic wealth. But truthfully, even if you had all the money, if you don't have a sustained, healthy environment and ecosystem, then all the money in the world won't help. What was the movie, Triangle of Sadness? Did anyone see that movie? It's a bunch of billionaires stuck on an island and they're helpless because all their money doesn't help. So the ecology is a painful dimension for Vivian and for many others because when we look deeper into it, we see that we've really violated our relationship with all of the other living things, all of the other living species. And it's about reconnecting. It's about being aware and understanding the importance that the ecology has for our sustenance. If we die out, the planet will be fine, you know. It's going to keep going. It's really about us and how we interact with the ecosystem and with the ecology. Yeah, again, we could go much in detail on all of these dimensions. But this isn't like the framework. This is just a starting point for discussion for like, how can we as a society redefine the values that are important? And how can we as individuals also cultivate these values in our day-to-day? It doesn't mean that you have to do something drastic. It just means maybe think about how you're doing your day-to-day in a different way. So if you enjoyed the idea, I've got an amazing product. It's an exclusive offer, limited time only. If you buy today before midnight, it's only $39.99. You can really have a 10-step process to enhance enlightenment. Really, best decision ever. Just scan the QR code. I'm joking. Where's Julia when you need him, huh? So, you want? I mean, basically, that's the message. You don't have to be a nomad to be free. You just have to be honest about what you really need and about who you really are. Oh, all right with the time, yeah? Thank you, beautiful. I was told I'm wearing the right colors, so that made me feel better. Okay, I don't know if this is the easy or the hard part. Any questions on what matters most in life? Yeah.
What happens if I scan that QR code?
Actually, good question. I purposefully added an eggshell. It just brings you to the presentation. Sorry?
You get hacked.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a Rickroll or something.
What?
Rickroll.
Okay, well, we'll talk later. The presentation was finalized 20 minutes ago when I added a slide, so it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, Becky.
What matters most to you in life?
I practiced.
It was an obvious question. You should
No, I practiced this presentation with a friend this morning, and she was kind of like, if happiness isn't the point, then what is? And I thought about the talk on death and how we don't really talk much about it. And somebody else, Yuta, said it's about life and all of its colors and all of its varieties. So what matters most to me is having an authentic relationship and presence in all of those different phases. I mean, I was so burned out by the Bansko Nomad Fest and then the Bosnia Nomad Fest and then the Swiss Nomad Fest and the Athens Nomad. At some point, I just burned out and I just lie in my van for a month. And so I don't know what exactly it did other than waste time, or reclaim time, but I can say that I feel better gradually since then. It did something with me where I I was forced to slow down. And since then, yeah, I feel better because I feel more present. So that's what matters most to me. And this presentation was, a big step for me. It's something that I've been thinking of doing for years. And so finally to just have the opportunity to talk about it. Again, I don't know where it will lead, but I feel like it's the right time. So thank you. Yes, in the back.
So, when you talk about spirituality, do you include a religion? Because it seems to me that religion can bring an awful lot of good, but an awful lot of angst in the world.
Yeah, I agree personally, actually, with that. I was never religious, and some of my family was very religious. Just a little bit of history. So my mom was Jewish. My dad fought in the Egyptian army against Israel. I have ties to these conflicts, and to me they seem like they're the dark side of religion, where it becomes dogmatic, it becomes extremist, it becomes othering. So I'm not a fan of that side of religion. But the spiritual side of religion, for example, the community side, like where my friends would meet up for church every Sunday and then just, have this community that a lot of us, and harvest and cultivate their relationships. That side I thought was really beautiful. So, again, I'm not going to say yes or no to that. It depends how you do it. All of these things are tools. Even AI is a tool. It's not good or bad. It's how you use it that will end up, deciding where you go in the next life.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. Easy questions. Anything harder? Come on, guys.
You want to start a cult in Bansko?
I'm already part of one in Semkovo, so that's a whole other story. I got a couple Semkovos here. Sorry?
We need another one here.
Okay, we'll talk. Yeah.
When you travel, what is your strategy to find like-minded people as a nomad?
When I travel, what's my strategy to find like-minded people as a nomad? That's a very good question. I mean, like I was saying, the Bansko Nomad Fest, we're nomads. We try and break out of the mold. We try and break out of the 9-to-5 system. To some extent, we've succeeded. But now it really feels like digital nomad has become, again, another normalized thing, which again we feel like we have to break out of. In a sense, the Fringe is breaking out of the bigger festival. I feel good here. I feel good with the quality of the talks. We got amazing speakers. I don't know that I have a really good answer to that. I know that what I've called myself over the last few years is a reluctant nomad. I bought a farm 5 years ago precisely because I want to slow down. I want to cultivate more of these relationships that, as Yov mentioned, have a huge swath of challenges in and of themselves. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with one person. So to be with 5 or 10 or 20 people, it's a crucible for emotional growth. So again, I don't want to ever stop traveling. I think it's very enriching, this idea of the world school where they are so exposed to different environments. I think they're going to grow up to be extremely interesting adults. But for me and my journey, I want to slow down and find my home also kind of in that direction. And so for a long time, I was very desperate that I couldn't find these people, and that it kind of frustrated me. And now I'm at a stage where I still live in a van, I don't have a home, I don't really have a career, and I don't really have a partner, but I'm okay with that. I'm just more kind of letting go of needing this at the moment, and yeah, ironically, that also helps my relationships be less anxious attachment, and I think I'm rambling now, but
It's good.
Does that answer your question?
You wanted a hard one,
Yeah, no, good job. You win the prize.
A question.
Last question from Jenny.
Jenny.
Why did you buy in Semkovo? Are you looking for a sense of community? You can actually have it in Bansko. Why did you go out there?
Okay, why did I buy in Semkovo?
1 minute left.
Actually, when we started the project, when I went and spoke to Matthias about it at the very beginning, there was a documentary filmmaker by his side, and after she heard my questions, she came to me and said, "I really need you to be in the documentary." And so I'm very curious to see what will come out and what she's picked, because the honest answer to that question will be in that documentary. For me, it was a series of personal coincidences. I was really needing some address, and I was way too overwhelmed to look at all the Bansko properties, and this was something that was kind of available. It ticked a lot of the boxes. It revived an old building, which I thought was a really cool project to do, and I loved the idea of being in forest. So there's a lot of pros and really appealing components and aspects to the project. I think at this point, the strongest point is I say community. The friendships that have formed from a few of the people. Nico's standing out there, I have Marlene and Yandan. So there's a few people that have, we're not gonna be a community of 200, but we are gonna form some groups of people that will be there for one another. So I know I could find that in Bansko as well. I don't know, that's a complicated one. I think it was not a huge investment for me, and it was an interesting journey to embark on, and it's not over. So I'm curious to see how it continues. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. You're a great crowd.